Hello viewers, Brookspoke here. This is my review of the Tops Knives Quickie Karambit. Hey viewers, the reason for this video is because I've been thinking about getting a small fixed blade knife to put into my everyday carry rotation. Having done a lot of research, reading several reviews, watching several YouTube videos, I decided to go ahead and try to get the Tops Knives Quickie Karambit. The hard thing was trying to find one. Tried several online stores, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, even Tops Knives didn't have them. They were all out of stock. Luckily I found one at MidwayUsa. The price of the knife with shipping was roughly around $80. The following is the list of specifications for the knife and the sheath. Here you can see the overall length of the knife. It's essentially just 5 inches long. It has a double-edged blade. The overall length of the blade is essentially 1.5 inches long. Like I said, the blade is double-edged. Here we have the weight of the knife and the sheath that I made. As you can see, it's 2.7 ounces. That isn't heavy at all. You can see by the shape of the knife that it's rather unique. Piece here goes on the inside part of your index finger. This goes to your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky. And as far as retention, it's actually a good setup. I'll demonstrate here. Here you can see the way the knife should be held. Also included with the knife was a small kydex sheath that had a spring steel clip to it that would fit up to a 2-inch belt. And also it had a certificate of manufacture and authenticity from Tops Knives. Because of the issues I had with the sheath that came with the knife and the sharp corners, I went ahead and made a sheath of my own, kind of my own style, plus it's kind of a reverse mirror image of the sheath that came with the knife. Set up for weak hand, left hand side carry. As you can see on the, like I said earlier, you can see on the sheath that came with it, it is formed for one side only. The other side happens to be flat. And by virtue of that, the way the knife's oriented in the sheath, that determines how you're going to have to use the sheath on your belt. That's why I went ahead and made a new one. One of the things about the spring steel clip that came with the original sheath that I transferred over to this, like I said earlier, it's set up for a 2-inch belt. I don't use a 2-inch belt. I use 1.5 inch, 1.75 inch belt. And with that, this does have some slop when you're carrying it, but it still does retain it. It's not going to come off your belt. And one of the added features is when you're sitting down in your car or at a table or a piece of furniture, there's enough wiggle in this to where you can afford yourself to position it comfortably where it is not digging in, the knife or the sheath does not dig into you. Using this as an illustration is what I was talking about earlier in regards to the belt and the spring steel clip. If you used 1.5 inch belt, you'd have some wobble. You can see right here, like I said, the spring steel clip's made for a 2-inch belt. But one advantage to this having some slop in it like this is that when you are sitting down, you do have the luxury of moving this, adjusting it to have some comfort in case you were in an awkward position. And at the same time, the spring steel clip will not come off of the belt unless you manually open the spring steel clip itself. Like I said, this is set up with the sheath I made to where on my left side, as you can see, the way it's set up, given this is the front of your body, your left hand would come in grab the knife like this so you could deploy it. Now I'll illustrate the part with the sheath that came with the knife. The sheath that came with the knife is here. The spring steel clip was mounted on the flat side of the sheath, which would allow you to wear it outside the belt. It was mounted on the front two holes. If given on the right side, this is the front of your body. Because I didn't want to wear it on my right side and chose to wear it on my left, I switched it over to wear it on my left side, and by virtue of the orientation of the blade and the sheath on my the left side of my body, it had to go between my body and the belt. And that was very uncomfortable because there was times, like I said, the sharp edges or sharp points on the sheath would dig into me, and quite honestly, so would the tang of the knife handle. That's why I came up with my own sheath. It's made specifically to wear my left side. You can see I've rounded off all the corners, nothing to jab me there. Whereas you can see the contrast, you have 4 fairly sharp corners. And you might ask, well, what difference does it make? Like I said, one side's flat, one side molded. Well, the mold is to orient the blade a certain way. You can see the blade fits that way. If you would try to wear it on your left side to orientate the knife to where you could utilize it on the left side, if you would ask, well, why can't you just take and flip the knife around? Well, you can't, because of the way the sheath's formed. The knife is meant to go in one way. You can see if you did want to wear this on the left side and tried to stick the knife in to orient it to left side wear, it wouldn't fit because the sheath is not formed for it. I'll move the blade a little bit more and you can see what I'm saying. I hope that explains some of what I was talking about the wiggle in the spring steel clip and your belt. And hopefully you can understand now why I made another sheath for this knife. I've set this example up to illustrate what I was talking about as far as the clip. This and the sheath that came with the knife. I took the clip back off the sheath I'd made just to show this. As you can see, when you use the spring steel clip on that sheath that came with it for a left-hand carry, if this is the front of your body, to me, I don't like the overall length or width of this. It's kind of cumbersome. The back of the knife is basically unsupported in the sheath because with the side that's formed, you don't have enough room to put the spring steel clip on here, other than just the 2 farther points to attach to the clip. So that further illustrates why I came up with my own design for the left hand side. And also what I was mentioning earlier about there being wiggle and slop in the 1.5-inch belt compared to the 2-inch clip. Once you do cinch your belt up, that puts it tighter to your body and it eliminates a lot of the wiggle. The wiggle is just mostly, like I said, when you sit down, it does allow you to adjust the knife. I bought this knife for the purpose of carrying the weak hand, left hand side of my body, because I do carry CCW weapon on my right side or appendix. So therefore that's the reason for the left side, because it is my weak hand. Having this knife does have some advantages. If you were in a situation where you couldn't access your CCW pistol readily, or you just felt the need there was for a blade, This would be great on your weak hand side. You could pull it out, and as you can see, it locks in fairly well with your hand. I'll show another advantage to the knife using a Glock 17, and I'll demonstrate that it is empty. It does have a chamber flag, totally empty. Doing that because I don't want to trigger any FUDs out there who may complain about, oh, the chamber's not flagged, the weapon could be loaded. No, the weapon isn't. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, one of the main advantages to this knife is if you did have your primary carry weapon out, you wouldn't have to worry about dropping the Karambit, your knife, or reholstering it. You can maintain it in your hand readily, come up on your weapon. If you needed to load another magazine, you could load the magazine, no problem. You're still retaining the knife. To me, that's a big advantage of this knife. You don't have to necessarily worry about losing retention of it. Having carried this knife for basically 2 months now, I've really grown to like it. Don't have any issues with it. To me, Tops really hit it out of the ballpark when they made this knife. This is the first Karambit I've ever owned, and quite honestly, like I said before, I'm really impressed with it. The only thing I would caution you on is if you do get a fixed blade knife, whether it be this one or another fixed blade knife, or any carry knife as far as that goes, you need to check your state and local laws before you do carry. Where I live, it happens to be legal. Anyway, that's my review of the Tops Karambit. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, hit like down below. Maybe subscribe if you would, because I do plan on coming out with quite a few more videos about various subjects. Thank you. Till the next time, stay safe.